that I've got this thing all cleaned out, it's all nice and pretty now, like it always was, now I'm just going to go through and season the thing and just get it oiled up and lubed up a little bit on some of the hinge points. I'm just going to show you some of the things that I use, some of the things that are needed for this. One is you need a food grade cooking oil for the inside and the outside of the chamber, and that's to season it. Helps to prevent rust, helps to keep your pit lasting a long time. Even if your pit's painted, it's good still to season it with oil. One main reason why is because paint is going to crack and flake off, whereas the oil is not. As the metal heats and it expands and contracts, the oil is going to expand and contract with it. And then the other thing too with the oil, that we're treating this thing like a cast iron pan, right? So use the oil just like you would a cast iron pan to keep it clean, keep it nice, and to help to prevent rust. That's like our main thing here, is to prevent the rust. The oil that I use is flaxseed oil. The reason why I go with flaxseed oil, and I just get a spray can because it's just easier, but I like flaxseed oil because it's the only food grade oil that I found that when it gets hard after it dries smooth and hard. It doesn't leave like a tacky, sticky feel like most cooking oils do. Then the other two things I have are just some lubricating oils. One of them here is this Remy Dry Lube. I know it's gun oil, but I like this because when you spray it on the lubrication points, it dries immediately. But also because it's gun oil, it's meant to be heat resistant, which we're doing with something that creates a lot of heat. So like on our hinges for the cook chamber door, the hinge here for the handle, even the hinges for the firebox, I'll put this on. And just helps to make everything open. It closes easily and doesn't squeak. So the other thing that I use is this gun oil right here. It says Black Diamond CLP. The CLP just stands for clean, lubricate, protect. Put this on the bottom grate down here to help to prevent rust. It has additives in it that prevent rust. Again, it's a gun oil, so it's heat resistant, but also gun oil is meant to prevent, the gun from rusting. You just kind of rub it in and then it helps to slow down rust for guns. You can use that here for this. And the reason why I use the gun oil on the bottom here is because one of the things about using the cooking grade oil is just like with a cast iron pan, when you spray it on, then you heat it up, and as you heat it up, the metal has to get up to about 350 degrees for there to be that chemical reaction to where the oil sets into the pores of the metal and it hardens and it cakes over the metal. The bottom part of my cooker down here, the grate doesn't ever get hot enough for that. Same thing with the bottom of the legs. So I'll use that oil there to help prevent the rust down below. And then I'll also use it for the casters, keep them from rusting, but also to keep them lubricated. And then the other thing you need is just some terry towels or shop rags, whatever you want. You'll just use this to kind of rub the oil in on the outside, get it into the metal itself. Typically, you want to kind of have the metal a little bit, you don't want to have it like burning hot, but you do want to kind of heat it up a little bit. A lot of times it's good to do this after you've cooked something and the metal's still kind of warm. Get your oil rubbed into it and then get the fire cranked back up. Another thing that I use is just an infrared thermometer. And this is just a cheap one I got. It's a Camp Chef infrared thermometer. Goes up to like 932 degrees, it says. It's like $20. This is really helpful just so you can use it all over the cook chamber and everything. Make sure that all of the different parts of the metal are getting hot enough to where you can have the reaction that you need. And I'll show you guys what it looks like also. It's pretty obvious to tell when it's working. You'll start to see little vapors and like smoke almost kind of like coming off the top of it, and that's just that reaction from the oil. The cooking oil. Only other thing that you need really is just wood. One thing I want to point out is you still want to use hardwood or wood you would use for smoking. Kind of like what I talked about earlier. These cookers, they develop flavor over time. The more you use them, the more flavor they create, the more flavor they develop. Kind of layer the flavor in the cooker, and it makes it so that your meat and what you're smoking actually gets better over time. Because of that, we don't want to throw like pine in here or cedar in here because we're going to add a layer of pine flavor or cedar flavor in there. We just don't want that. I got oak here. Oak is what I like to use a lot, so we're going to season this thing with some oak. Okay, so first things first is I'm just going to build the fire in here real quick and show you what I do for that. You want to kind of make a little bit of like a big bonfire in here to get it so that it's really hot and get the result that we want. I always use flat wood, which is right here as my fire starter. Flat wood just works really well. And it burns for quite a while, so you can get all the logs lit. But also, the one that I use is just an all-natural fire fat wood. There's no chemicals or anything added to this one. I know you can get some fat woods that have like a lacquer on the outside of them. I don't really want any chemicals in something that I'm putting food in, so I try not to get woods that have that, and I try not to put any chemicals in here. So one thing that's good about seasoning is this is a good time. You can use a lot of your wood and a lot of your logs that you wouldn't normally want to use for cooking. You can use them for this. Maybe they're ones that are just going to take a long time to catch, or they're just, you don't like the bark or something, or it's just too dense. This is a good time to use those. Because once I'm done with this, I'm going to go through and just quickly spray the inside of the cook chamber and then get the firebox sprayed also. So really this is it. So we just kind of did like a Lincoln log style, stack the logs on top of each other. Real quick, I'm just going to start by spraying the inside of the cook chamber. Really pretty simple. Just spray it all around. I don't really wipe down inside of here. It's not really needed. This is one reason why I use the spray cans too, because it just sprays it all on its own. So we're just wanting to get it everywhere under my tray for my water pan. I may end up wiping it down here anyways. Just to give you guys an idea, it takes about 6 to 10 cans for the size of my pit to really get it all covered the way that I like it. Once we get this, then I can close it and then do the outside. I am just going to go ahead and wipe this real quick. So what I like to do is just get my rag, fold it, and then just kind of spray it a little bit. That way the rag isn't going to soak up the oil, it's just going to help rub it in. And literally we just go through and rub it all in. Rubbing it does help to make sure you get all the surfaces. So now we got that all wiped down. What I'm going to do now is just go grab the cooking grate. That in here. And I'll just spray the cooking grate even. I'm going to start spraying the outside of the cook chamber. And the same thing with the inside, just go inside, outside as best I can. One thing to notice, I did take my thermometer out. The reason why is because I just don't like to spray with oil and get it covered in oil. Once I get everything sprayed, I will just throw it back in. But we're just going to go through it, get it all. The more you do this, the less oil you're going to find you have to use. The first time I did this, I used a ton of oil. I think I went to like 12 cans just because the metal absorbs it so quickly. But you do this enough and it won't take as much. And that's kind of why mine has that darker color to it. The more you do it, the darker it's going to get, just like cast iron. Oh, hey, while I'm down here, I wanted to call out, I have these mats here. I always put these mats down underneath it. This helps to keep my concrete clean because the oil will drip off on to the ground, and that just kind of keeps it from getting on your concrete. So you notice my firebox here is even darker than the cook chamber, and that's because I do my firebox quite a bit. Because the firebox gets the most abuse and deals with the most heat, I'll usually do this like once a month or so, depending on how often I'm using it. Firebox is definitely something I'll do more frequently than not. Going to go through and just kind of wipe down the cook chamber, just like this. Really all that it is just go through and rub it all down, rub it in, and that's it. So I've got everything all rubbed down, just waiting for it to all come up to temp. There's where the temp's at now for the cook chamber, but then if you look here, we're hanging out at 178. It's about halfway there on the temp as far as that goes. So next I'm just kind of show you guys what I'm going to do here with this gun oil. While that's coming up, I can do this down here. So really just spray it on. Gonna hit the casters also. And then I'll just take my rag here and wipe it in. One thing I wanted to point out, this smoker here, when I got it, it was raw metal, and it still is raw metal. It's just been seasoned. It will change color over time, and that's the reason why mine is the color that it is now, is from the seasoning that I've done to it. Okay, got the bottom area all done now, all oiled up. Like the way it looks, looking good. Just gonna go ahead and lube up this. These connection points really aren't gonna get any heat. So just spray the lube into here, both sides. That's it. Still waiting for the metal to come up to temp. Yeah, now you can see that's moving really nice. I'll go ahead and just hit this real quick. So we can see there, I mean, it just dries right away. Does not ignite like normal cooking oil would. Now that's smooth. That's smooth. The only thing I'm going to wait on, of course, is the firebox hinge and the door latch. Screw comes through for the door latch. I'll wait on those until they're totally cooled down.